All right, we are live. What's going on, people? Ooh. I'm gonna look into the app, the phone to see how many people are like of the 987,000 that said they were going to be here. I just want to make sure that they are actually here. Um, okay, it looks like maybe three people haven't showed up yet. Everybody else is here. So, folks, leave us your name. Tell us where you're at. Like right now, this second. Are you in the kitchen? Are you in the truck? Are you at the car wash? Um, Let us know so we can shout you out. We want to recognize you and show some appreciation for the fact that you're actually here with us on this Saturday morning because we know it's early. Brian Winningham wanted it to be earlier, but we said no, Brian, because Spencer needs to sleep. And we got some amazing folks. Here's a beautiful thing: is we got a whole bunch of people here. Everybody on the stage has been actively engaged throughout the entire conversation, and now you get to see their face and get to know them a little bit more. So be ready to ask some questions and let us know what you're thinking. We got Mr. Will. Oh man, I had a conversation with Will yesterday. We had a 30-minute call. I mean, it's just like this group here, right? He breathed nothing but positivity, and he's got it going on. So follow him. He's going to build you up. He sees things that maybe others need to be seen. So high value. Look at that. We got Mr. Nirkash is back. Nirkash, good morning, good day. Hello, how are you? I'm not sure exactly what time it is where you're at, but glad you're here. And then we have a ghost. We've got Fuel Driven Lean in the chat.
Are you multitasking, Brian? Come on, Winnie.
Busted. Steve Turner, what's going on, Mr. Steve? Oh, man. And so we got the infamous LinkedIn user. LinkedIn user says, but you know what? I discovered this because you know how much research I do in preparation for all the things that I'm involved with. It's StreamYard that doesn't, for whatever reason, doesn't list the person's profile. So this LinkedIn user is actually Kirby. She says she agrees with Brian. Always earlier is always better. We got Mike Kyman says, let's go. He's ready for some intimate sharing.
Damn lie, Jesse. Damn lie.
Come on, Brian. Got to show that love, baby. Joshua McMahon in DC. He says, hello with the team taking in a Caps game. All right. That's the way to do it, my man. The chats are rolling in, Jen. What do you think we start kicking this conversation off? And I'll keep interrupting because I'm pretty good at that. I got a lot of practice.
Okay, that sounds good. So first, we want to thank everybody for showing up this morning because most of you probably have been, this is probably not your first morning. Some of you it may be, and we welcome you. But we really want to I'm going to do a little bit of a recap on how we got here. And then we're going to kind of talk through what our plan is for today. So we have, over the last 2 months, really dug in these sessions on some stuff that's really focused on 5S and relationships, personal relationships. And we've taken that a lot of different places. And that's not the reason we're here today. But what happened was in those conversations, we decided we needed to create some more space for people to come in and really chime in and share their stuff. And so we had a Clubhouse After party, and we started doing that, I think, on the third one. And we really just the vulnerability and the trust and just what was created in those conversations based on our industry, based on personal relationships on the job and off the job, and how those transcend and that they don't just turn off and turn on. And a lot of things that are happening in that workspace that really have started to impact how we show up and how we go home. And so for us, it got a lot bigger than I think we anticipated and we expected. Hence the reason we're here today, because we felt like we needed an entire session focused on some of those conversations and some of the things that are happening in the industry. And we have some amazing guests today that, for whatever reason, have put their trust and respect in Jesse and I and have shown up today in this space to kind of share some takeaways that they've gotten over the last couple months, but also how this industry has impacted them, how it's impacted the people around them. And that's really kind of our focus today. So we appreciate if you've been here on this journey with us, focusing on the 5S stuff. But today we're really focusing on the people part of our discussions. And so with that, I got a couple of big room rules. We want to make sure everybody follows them. So most everyone up here has been on this journey with us. They have trusted us. They have gotten vulnerable. They have shared some things that we felt, need to be shared with all of you. So we ask you to please respect that. Mm-hmm. So we have people in here that have shown up to a very safe space, and it has been this way throughout, and we so appreciate that. But we also ask that you respect, the stuff they're sharing, and you have shown up in this room because there's value for you, but also they are getting very vulnerable today, and they are sharing some things that they trust you will protect, and you will kind of care for that and not abuse that. So
100%.
That anything else, Jesse, I missed on that?
I don't think you missed anything. I'll say that, trust and respect. We talk a lot in our lean lingo, right? Respect for people. And so that's what we're asking, right? Is to display respect so that we can honor the folks that are up here on the stage, because these folks are here to honor the men and women that are out there in our industry that are having maybe less than amazing experiences, and they're going to share their personal experiences, their views on things, so that we as a whole can improve the damn industry. Like, simple stuff. That's what we're here for. Mind if I do some shout outs again before
do that? Yep. Mm-hmm. Go ahead.
Okay. So we got Mr. James Gontorius. He says, good morning. Oh, and then we got, I'm sorry, y'all, I do play favorites. We got Vance Valencia. Vance, please drop your link, the link to your most recent work. He just published the second article on like these really super genius people that have been talking about 5S in relationships. The dude is he's a phenomenal writer. Vance, good to see you. He's here from Colorado Springs. Carlos Jimenez from Puerto Rico. Yeah, baby. Beautiful sunny day down in the PR. Nurkash gives us a status update. It's 4:05 p.m. in Durban, South Africa.
International.
Yeah, that's right. If you didn't know, now you know. Davis Hambrick, if y'all haven't listened to Lane Foundation's podcast, Davis and Walker are two young professionals that are absolutely going to help us transform this industry. Davis,
two of my faves right there.
Yeah, they got it going on, huh?
Amen.
Davis, take a snapshot of everybody on here, because if you haven't had them on your podcast yet, you need to get them on your podcast. These people got game. Mr. George Hunt back again. Morning, all. It's a little addicting, George, and I'm glad we got our hooks in you.
He's got George has that podcast too, so we want to make sure we give a shout out to him.
Which up in my game, baby.
Yeah, Brian's been on the podcast. Adam's been on the podcast. So yeah, the true talent acquisitionists out there, getting them up on their podcast. And then we got Mr. Faye Blend from Nigeria. He was here early on. He's been like since day one. He's been a part of it. Faye, appreciate you, my man. Will Sullivan says, keeping it real, as always, appreciate it. That's what we got to do, baby. That's how we roll. And then lastly, we got Mr. Gerard Cadet. Good to be in this room. Good morning from Tampa. So we got
that's my hometown.
We got them coming in all the way. The link to Vance's article is in the chat. So, well, you know what? There's people, because we now serve the omniverse. So all of this stuff we are streaming in Facebook, LinkedIn, and YouTube. And so if you're not in LinkedIn right now, you're not going to be able to find the link. but I bet you somebody can go later and drop the links in the chat of YouTube and Facebook. That's probably going to be me. But thank you. Y'all keep sharing. And Jen, I'm going to hand it over to you so we can get this dang ball rolling, baby.
Okay. Sounds good. So before we get started, we're gonna go around and kind of have our guests introduce themselves. So I'm gonna lay the stage, but I do want to make sure it's really clear. So we today are going to talk about some things that a little bit different taste than what we've done. I know Jesse and I have kind of gotten a little vulnerable, but because of the conversations that have come from those, we're going to talk about some stuff that's a lot heavier than maybe some of the things we've dug into. So we have let our guests know that if they need a pass, either because at that moment they're not in a place to answer it, or they're just in a place that they really would rather not dig into that, we have given them permission to do that. And so again, please respect that. We also, if you are in a place, my guest that I have today, that you would like to hand it off to someone else and then we can get it back to you. But again, this is the safe space. We will respect that. And we ask that everyone else does too. So with that, let's get really the reason why we're here today. So we are going to go around the room and I'm going to ask you to do a brief intro. And then if you will, in your intro, let us know how the heck Jesse and I got you to be here today. Because again, your trust in us is appreciated, but maybe the audience needs to know how we did that. So I'm going to just call you out. And then if you'll just let the audience know kind of, how you got here today. And Mr. Adam, you get to go first.
Something told me that would be happening. Good morning, everyone. I am Adam Hoots. I'm with Construction Ache Solutions. We are a construction coaching company that really focuses on boots on the ground and making things happen in the field. And so I guess, again, to be brief, how or why I would show up to this conversation, I think it's pretty obvious to Jen and Jess. I mean, I show up to conversations twice a week with them where we learn and talk about the things that we can't stand, I can't stand anyway, like culture and other immeasurables. So I'm just inspired by the conversation. I'm happy to be here again. Any opportunity to share a stage with you, Jesse, is amazing. And then all the other wonderful people on here, from Buddy to Spencer, Brian, Thomas. I'm just excited to have this conversation and to really open up and talk a little bit more about feelings.
All right.
And for clarity's sake, it's not the omniverse, it's the metaverse is what you're looking for, man. Come on, Jess.
No. The omniverse is where I live. I can see the tiny metaverse from here.
Yeah, because for those who don't know, the omniverse brings everything together, kind of like what's going on right here.
All right. Thank you, Adam, so much. Spencer.
So my name is Spencer Easton. I currently work for Elevate Construction. We elevate everything to do with construction. Just like Adam does, we're more of a boots on the ground type organization. That's why me and Adam basically are step brothers. So we get to hang out a lot and do a lot of fun stuff together. I've had the privilege to be awakened by the great culture and community that we know as the lean construction community. I'm grateful for all the folks on this call and out there that have been open. I love that about this community, that we're always willing to share things that are going well, things that are not going well, and that vulnerability is what has really connected with me. And the one thing that I'll mention on top of what Jen asked us to do is what got us to come here. Why did we trust these two individuals and to bring our stories forward? I've been getting hugs from Jesse for a while now, every Monday, and I know that it's a safe space because I've received hugs. And the first time I met Jen Lacy, which was in person, which was actually very recently, is at LCI here in Phoenix, which was really easy for me to attend because that's where I'm from. She, unlike anybody else, usually when you meet people in construction, they avert their eyes and that they're always, looking at the ground or looking at the piece of paper. And I noticed this about people, but Miss Jen Lacy, like is staring into your soul through your eyes, right? And so I was like, oh, this person is real. So you know real people when you meet them because they're different than the average person in construction that is, you know, just not wanting to have those hard conversations and not willing to go there. And she stared at me and said, hello, Spencer, to my soul. She spoke to my soul and said, you can trust me. And so I was like, down, I'm in. So that's what got me to come here. And I'm excited to add as much as I can to the conversation.
Well, thank you, Spencer, very much. That means a lot. I appreciate that. Brian, you ready?
Sure. Brian Winningham, Field Driven Lean. I'm a lean construction coach, been doing it for a couple of years. What got me here? Love. I've known Jesse a long time and everything I've ever. So the first time I met Jen was when she drove down to San Antonio just to come to one of our local LCI events just because she could. And so, you know, from that, it's like, wow, these are really cool people. I've known Jesse a long time. We used to do some presenting together and some stuff like that. So love would be what got me here, I guess. So.
Nice.
Well, awesome. Thank you, Brian, so much. Okay, so Buddy, ready?
I'm probably the most least likely to be here. But I made a few comments in the chats, and next thing you know, stepping out of the comfort zone. I'm with Skiles Group here in Dallas, superintendent, and when I saw this going to a personal level, that's when I got a little more bought into it, because I think we don't do that enough. We don't keep our finger on the pulse of our people, and there's a lot going on, and I'm excited and scared and terrified to share it, but we're going to all heal from some of these things, and so whatever I can do, I'm all in.
Awesome. Thank you, Buddy. So I want to, again, Buddy's not going to own this, so I'm just going to give it to him. So he is going to be, his humility is like off the charts, but he is an amazing rock star, out of this world superintendent that builds using lean. And he is, again, Brian said it in the chat, but he is my hero. And I value him so much. And for him to trust us and come into this space, and he's terrified, and he's legit very uncomfortable right now, yet he still showed up. So thank you, Buddy, so much. And then Thomas.
Yeah, thank you. Thomas Lamay. I'm a regional leader for DPR construction, and I live in Charlotte, North Carolina. But most of my, I guess, life has been on the West Coast. And that's where I met Jesse in San Francisco. And many, many times, Jennifer, you've never actually met me, maybe, but I've always chickened out, I think so. But the reason why I'm here is two things. If you've ever got a phone call from Jesse Hernandez, and he just be like, hey, what's like that energy? Like, Jesse, you need to call me every day. Just give me a burst of sunshine. Because if you start a conversation like that, there's no way you can be mad at somebody. And I know, Jesse, you know, we used to work at a similar or the same company doing the same exact role. So there's a lot of things we could talk about there. Yeah. But just having that energy and the emotion and passion and all the things, like, it's genuine. It's hard to maybe convey in the internet in the world, but I know for a fact, and I can stand testimony that it's real. And then and Jess, with this introduction of 5S in your personal life, the last sessions have they've blown me away. And it's, I took a look around and we did some sorting. This is stuff in my own house, in my own life. We did some straightening, we did some shining, and we're better for it. Me and my better half who live with me. But I'm just really I'm really happy to be on this stage. I don't think I deserve it either, but good to be here.
Love having you here. So don't want to ignore our chat because we love our folks. We got Ian Smith saying good morning from Dallas, Texas. I'm assuming he's in Dallas. He may be back home. And then we got the mystical Felipe engineer coming in from Cali. Steve Martin says, what's going on from Connecticut, bragging about the fresh dusting of snow. That sounds, I always thought snow, like when I see snow, I think, man, that's beautiful. And then I discovered, like, if you're in an environment where it snows a lot, then you kind of got to shovel the snow. And like, oh, that doesn't sound very cool at all. But I'm glad you got some snow out there, Mr. Steve. And then we have another one. Anybody recognize that name? We got Keon Zandy. What's going on, Keon, man? Thank you again for being just a continuous supporter and a big giant influencer in our industry.
He's the lean builder, right? That's
the author
Keon Zandy
of the co-author of the Lean Builder. Autographs are available after the show. Okay, so I think y'all keep dropping the comments, share your content, network, all of the stuff, and we're going to get into it because we got a short period
Jesse,
of time.
you didn't share Will Sullivan's final comment there about you.
Oh yeah, that one. I should call everyone every day. Thomas and Will, I love that, and thank you for that. I will share some truth. There have been people in my life that at first they really like it. And then after a while, like, son of a gun, do you ever can you just chill out? Every morning you're off like out of bed. That's the way it is. Like, boom, let's go, baby. And what I've heard is that it can be exhausting. It's a little much. So,
and so those that know us a little bit, if you'll go back up to Will's other comment, I think that's why Jesse and that's why we don't drive each other crazy, is because between my energy and his energy, I don't know which one of us gets tired of the other one more. Because it's like we're trying to somehow make this work together.
Is this the one you're talking about? Yes. It's addicting. Oh, okay. So we've been having fun. It's been loose. We're nice and warm. And to steal Spencer's observation, Jen is going to go straight dagger to your heart. Like, what's next, Jen?
Okay, so I want to make the statement because it warms my heart every time I'm in this community and in this tribe, and it is a tribe, and I believe it in my heart, and I say it as much as I can. But if those of you that are watching and that are up here on the stage, like Buddy and I've had this conversation specifically, but this transcends companies, like what we're doing here and the conversations we're having. And I mean, there's people on the stage that we compete against, and there's people in the audience that are going, what? They're like, those are people that go, we're so beyond that. And we know we have to compete. We know that we're going to get work. We're not going to get work. Somebody's going to beat us out. We're not going to get all the work, but we also know we're in an industry that has over 1 million unfilled jobs. And right now we're talking about the people in the industry. That's what we're talking about today. Yet we have a future that we've got to sustain. And to do that, we've got to make this industry viable and sustainable for everyone. And so that's a lot of the things we're going to talk about today, because we've got to get people into this industry, but we also got to take care of the people that are here. So with that, again, I'm going to slowly do this. I know it's a dagger. It's a little bit of a dagger, but it's one of those that I've got those coming. So those of you that in your intro, you talked about why you were here, why you show up today, and it was really focused on Jesse and I. So all of you have watched, observed, shown up on Saturday mornings, and we appreciate that. What specifically in the 5S in relationships conversations? And so we've had them. We've had 5. This is our 6th one. We've done the after parties. One nugget as to what you took away. So what in the 5S and relationships conversations over the last 2 months, one nugget that you took away, it could have been on the live stream, it could have been in the after party, that you are now because of that conversation, because you heard it, because you interacted with someone else, or a comment that someone put on the feed, that now you're using that, or you're doing something different. And so with that, I'm going to roll it to Brian.
Steve Turner's daily huddle with his wife. That changed the way that I look at how I talk to my wife about how we schedule our time together, and about how, because there was something that was important to her that I didn't realize and didn't get it on my calendar and didn't ask her about. And now we meet, we don't meet every day because it's a different situation than Steve's. We don't both work out of the house. So we see each other a lot more than they do, because we both work at the same place at home. But, now we meet on Monday morning and talk about our schedule, just being more just making sure that we're connecting, that we're communicating better, and just making sure that that's happening.
Okay, so I can go around, or if y'all just want to speak up, I'm happy with that too.
I could say it was possibly Jesse talking about his probation officer, but maybe that wasn't really what it was. It was Jennifer talking about her daughter and some struggles there, and then just listening to all the people breaking it down to family. And I think that's what we lose sight, working 70, 80 hours a week for.
That's what did it for me too. Whenever we're talking about lean, a lot of times we go right to tools. A lot of times we go right to processes, but everyone I think agrees on the foundation of respect for people is where lean starts, because that's the culture of the Japanese, right? And that's what was powerful to me about this. It wasn't necessarily a specific thing. It was like, ooh, that thing, or ooh, that. It was, we're finally starting to have tools, conversations that are focused solely on that, on how do we do that. It like Brian said with Steve, well, this is how I applied it within my family. I have that meeting with my family to show that respect for communication. I've been blown away just by the change of conversation, that it's not, hey, do this to improve your construction thing, right? This is way more important than that. It's, we're all people that have needs and families and aspirations, and there's so much potential. I mean, we're talking about an entire industry, the construction industry, with so many folks. Think about the change that has happened in industry, in the way we live our lives in the past 20 years. And that's it. I mean, you think about, okay, was the iPhone around? So smartphones like exploded, like what we're able to do. I think all of us are really connected now because of that simple, like little change. And that was a few folks dreaming and really focusing on how can we improve the lives of others. And so if we start to do that, there is nothing that we can't do as an industry, because we have so many amazing people from, I mean, the big time. I mean, if we're talking about the ultimate, like Keon Zandy, all the way down to us, like lowly peon, like workers that have brooms in our hands every so often, out there sweeping the job sites or supplying materials. We all can contribute and make this an amazing world to live in. So that's what's been exciting for me.
Awesome. Adam Thomas.
Who's Adam Thomas?
Adam, you're up. Come on, baby. What you got?
So
Adam, go first.
I guess to drop just the nugget, it's the realness, right? It's the conditions, it's the vulnerability, the trust, the conditions, and the affirmations, the advocacy, right? Like it's internal first and then external. I think sometimes I can do a little bit of theoretical approach, but I won't dive into that. But it's just the realness of the group and what's happening, and the intention is for, you know, the people, and at least from my perspective, it's from the people, like actually, like Spencer said, doing the work, not necessarily like this totem pole type of approach, but like more of like, hey, we're elevating the people who are sweeping the floors, because they're the ones that are doing that first S. They're sorting this job, like, and how this stuff transcends industry, right? Like when we apply 5S in our relationships, we're kind of, again, like we dove into the conversation. It wasn't, hey, Jen hit us with a big punch of a question. It was like, let's build a little trust here. Let's sort out kind of what we're doing, right? And then let's set in order what we're doing. And we're kind of building this, like this lead up into diving in. And that's about establishing that condition. So I just, again, you know, the realness, the vulnerability, the trust, the conditions, and just that affirmation and advocacy for who we are as people.
Thomas got to bring us home, baby.
Wow. I have two. And I want to, these are kind of near and dear to me, but sorting, organizing. Jan, you brought up a great point, and it led me back to putting people in a box. And it's a book from the Arbinger Institute. I think somebody had one in their hand. But when you said that, I think if I go back in the chat history and look at it, but like I was thinking about all of the times that I've put people in boxes, and I'm talking recently, where at my position at the time of whatever the situation was, I was able to push somebody into a corner and get them to do what I wanted them to do through coercion or whatever. And it wasn't that there was malice or ill intent. It was like, it was just that the stresses that I was having on myself, whether it was schedule or budget or whatever, I put it onto a tile installing crew. And then I told them that they were going too slow. And I had all this data to back it up. And it was like, I'm just blaming you. So that one hit me real hard. And then, and the fifth S, just to bring it home, that's discipline. And so if you think about sustaining anything, it requires habit. And man, I've gone through some pretty nasty habits in my day that I've most recently been trying to remove some of those that are not healthy, and then forming a kind of a better way of life. So sometimes you need professional intervention. And if you think about just the ego or whatever, the veil of self-deception that we live in our construction industry, it's a very hard industry because it's risky and dangerous, and it's out in the elements. Asking for professional help is often either difficult to do or almost sometimes impossible. So you have to seek it out for yourself. So sustaining anything requires professional intervention or third-party intervention. So I thought those are the two big ones that just got me. So thank you for both of those.
Thank you,
Thomas. Thomas triggered something for me, Jesse, just then, if you don't mind.
Come on.
Yes.
I mean, he got real. He definitely got real. You know, I started working when I was 10 years old. I didn't have a choice. My parents made me. You know, and I've been pretty proud of that most of my life, but it was abuse. Plain and simple. And what Thomas was talking about, what we do to people, that's abuse also. When we don't treat them as people, when we go and just beat them up and make them do the work they're supposed to do, that's abuse.
Yes.
And we need to own that impact and understand that impact, that when we do that, what we're doing to people. And that thank you, Thomas. Thank you very much for that. That was real, and that hit home for me. Thank you.
Yes. Not just people. It's we're causing that to families too, because you're putting that stress on that individual who takes it home to his wife and his children or her children, or whatever.
Right. All of the above.
It's a trickle down effect.
Absolutely. And so that part of, part of the reason that y'all were selected is because y'all are all like, you may not know this, and like Jen is helping me do, you got to own your impact. And the reason I'm kind of prefacing what I'm going to say with that is that y'all have had and continue to have enormous influence in the construction industry. Like everybody on this stage right now is like big time players. And what I'm hearing is we're taking ownership of how we contribute to a less than amazing experience, or rather, let me be clearer about it. We contribute to eroding the quality of life of the men and women that are out on our jobs. And part of what Thomas brought to the after parties was the connection of what he was taking away in these conversations about relationships and communication and the different things, and how that can be applied to a huge problem in our industry. Jen, you talked about there's over 1 million jobs that we're going to need to fill. So we don't have enough people coming in to do the damn work. And people are dying in our industry. They're suffering to death. They're dying as a result, or they're dying of suicide. They're suffering of mental illness and substance abuse. And so I'm going to go there, and some facts, some data that I got from some article, and it's I'm doing this so that we like get between the eyes and we can see exactly what the situation is. And so here's some points. One is, for every suicide, there are 25 attempts. 25 attempts. Like, if that's not misery, and that's not an opportunity to connect with somebody and offer some kind of reprieve from whatever it is they're wrestling with, there's at least 25, and it's proven, right? It's in this article. Men die by suicide 3.5 times more than women. What is our industry largely made out of? Right? Our workforce, it's a male-dominated workforce. Another attribute of folks that are suffering from suicide or suicide attempts is widespread substance abuse. Do we have that in our world? And you know what? I'm not even going to I am a perfect example of substance abuse. Yes, we have that in our industry, 100%. Another contributing factor is access to lethal means of suicide. Do we have folks that have like guns in the house and kind of plan their holidays and vacations around using those guns?
Or do we have people that are on construction sites that are in a place that are getting built high and wide, and tools? And I mean, there's a lot of things that are just in our industry that are very easily accessible.
Yes. And then lastly, again, a perfect example here, right? I almost, for the first time, Jen, I'm going to almost get 100 on this checklist, because the last point here is there's a fearlessness in a risk-taking environment. Are we not kind of prone to taking risks?
Cowboys?
So cowboys out there, right? I mean,
it's a result of the abuse, Jesse. It really is.
We become desensitized to the risk that's actually out there. We don't have the coping skills and the culture to say, wait a minute, let me, it's easy for me to put blame and say, well, nobody's talking. They're not telling me their problems. But the reality is because I absolutely suck at listening and creating a safe space where people, like Thomas said, can say, man, I need some help. I don't know what the hell I'm doing. Because guess what? How many people do you know out there professionally in the construction industry that admit to having a therapist and getting professional help, or having a confidant in their life that they go to draw and get an escape or some kind of solution, some kind of remedy to whatever the pain is that they're dealing with? I mean, I know me, for 20 years, I just stuffed it and stuffed it and stuffed it. And that manifested in substance abuse and all the other things that people had to tolerate.
Jesse, we are extolled on our ability to take this shit and stuff it and put up with it. Everybody is I mean, oh, look at that guy. He can, I mean, that's the ultimate way that we look at people. It's stupid. It's unhealthy.
Yep.
It's the value, the way we look at value, the way we've defined value, the way that we have celebrated value is the tools, the processes, the outcomes, the profits.
Oh, they work 80 hours a week. They're dedicated.
Elevate that. That is what we've been, I mean, that's what we've focused on, as to you bring value because you do all of this. And at no point, and I say this a lot because I believe it in my heart, it's the value when we stop letting that be what defines value, and we look at people and we look at what they're bringing, and in good or bad, indifferent, I mean, just, it doesn't even matter. What they're bringing is the value, and what they can do with it, and what they can do together once they created that culture of, something that can be bigger than just one person, is where we're going to make changes. And we cannot continue to define value based on outcomes. We have to stop doing that.
What does ROI mean to you?
Ripples of impact.
Outcomes are just the learning. It's just the learning. It's just knowing. It's just figuring out the last mistake we made so we don't make it again. That's all outcomes are. They're not the ultimate. They're just part of the journey.
I got a story real fast. And then so Thanksgiving Day, we're family together, have a brother that is considering applying for a job a little bit more than what he's done in the past. So he's a little bit, not sure about it. And so we're talking, and I'm like, George, it's okay. Like, we can do some things that are outside of our comfort zone. And I'm talking to him, and I'm like, if we're just staying in the same place all the time, we're not going to grow. And he's like, what do you mean, Jennifer? And I'm about to talk, and Alex, those of you that know her, my 10-year-old, goes, Mom, I got this. She said, Uncle George, when we fail, we learn. And so when we take that and expand that into us and our industry and how we interact with people, like, is it okay to fail? And how do we embrace that? And how do we attack that? And how do we weaponize that? That is what we have to change.
Yeah, 100%. Our response as leaders to problems, because problems are an opportunity to learn. And when we create the space and honor the people that come up, we will combat the toxicity that Miss Amy Campbell references in her statement. She says, yes, with like YES in capital letters, the toxicity and abuse that people experience in a workplace makes an impact in other areas of people's lives. And so, I mean, that's another important point, and I'm going to keep this rant short. But, I used to I'll say it this way. I used to add tremendous stress in my life by subscribing to the thinking that said, leave home at home and work at work. I cannot do that. I am this beautiful, glorious specimen that you see everywhere that I show up all the time, and trying to segregate that or bucketize that is self-defeating. Brian, in the prep and the warm-up, we were talking about what's the word? Self-betrayal, right? And the impact that has on the psyche and on the individual. When I don't serve and honor myself, that manifests itself in various ways, and the people that are closest to me are the ones that suffer that failure. They're the ones that suffer me being marginally present. And so we've got a long way to go. And I think one of the reasons, one of the reasons I've been enthralled about coming up here and going live is to be an example for people. Hopefully, like my hope, and it's already come to pass, is me coming up here and sharing my garbage and all my drama plants a seed in people's minds to say, man, I need to do this. I can do the same damn thing. Like, at least I'm not as screwed up as him, so I can share my stuff.
Thank you, Jesse. I appreciate that. So I want to dig into the next question. This one, again, we're about to get deep. So take a breath. So I'm going to ask each of you, okay? Normally when people go, oh, can you share a personal story? I know where every one of you are going to go. You're going to go to the job site. You're going to go to the office. You're going to go to some trade partner. You're going to go to some project that maybe didn't go. No. Nope. So I'm going to ask you, and I'm going to give you a little bit of time real quick to think about this. I need you to share with us a personal story, not on the job. So it's going to be when you go home outside of work. Now, it could be somebody that's in that space, but it cannot be a work story, a personal story that hits home with everything we've been talking about up until now. So think about that. And I know we Jesse and I brought in some personal things and how some of those have, again, these transcend. And I say that transcend because we don't check it at the door, go home, and then check it at the door, come in. And I was in a conversation recently that we were talking about how people show up. And I think, Brian, and you can probably speak to this because you were very active in the conversation. It's looking at sleep, just basically talking about sleep and mental health. And there's a lot of other things that play into that. But what sleep does, and how not just when you leave the job and you go home and then you get up in the morning and you come back to work, but do we even think about that time? All we have cared about up until now is when you walk through that gate. This is what we need you to do. This is how we need you to show up. This is what we need you to take care of. And we need you to do it for the time that you're here. And then when you check out through that gate, okay, then you go, well, we don't stop and think about how are they walking out of that gate? How are they walking out of that gate? And who are they going home to? And how is that interaction? And how is that relationship? We don't talk about that because we need them to get back here the next morning. And right now, these are the conversations that we're having. Do they have a new baby? Are they getting sleep? Are they able to? Spencer, how's that working right now?
Not very well.
We don't talk about those things, and we have to have. These are people. These are people, and they have lives, and they have things on the job and off the job. And now we've realized they don't stop and start at the gate. And so I'm going to ask each of you share a story that really resonates and talks about a lot of the things we've mentioned. Again, no parameters, but I'd rather, please don't let it be a on the job work story. So with that, I'm going to go, let's start with Spencer.
So, the thing that speaks truth to what Jennifer was just saying is, I think everybody, when they realize the humanity of someone else, is willing to work with you. I have met very few people that have pure malice and ill content for other humans in the industry. There are few and far in between folks out there that just are just making some bad decisions. But when I was early on in my career, I decided that I didn't want to be in the field anymore. The reason is because I felt like I was being treated like livestock. I was in Roseville, California, and this is not a job thing. I'm just giving you background. I promise this is not job related. Okay. Roseville, California, and I was sitting in a porta-john. It was burning hot, no toilet paper, no hand sanitizer, no nothing. And I'm sitting there, there's flies landing on my face. I'm like, this is the worst thing in the world. And getting out and getting tools thrown at me and just horrible. And so I decided to go back to work or go back to school. I hate school. I've always hated school. And that's why I went into construction, is because I wanted something more real, something to do with my hands. And me and my wife got married in 2011. And I was working full-time in construction and was taking 20 credit hours at at the college, which is quite a bit. If anyone's gone to school, that's a lot of homework on top of in-class time. And that's actually the max that they'll let you take at the university that I got into. And there's all this time, and I just felt this pressure as a man to provide for my family. And the one thing that I realized that, and I'm still not a perfect person in this, I hate when people say, oh, you have it all put together, or like have that opinion. Even today, I have conversations with those that I work with that I'm not good at time management of my personal time because I get so focused on something that it's a problem. Well, that manifested itself in my wife telling me that she wanted a divorce. I was working 100-hour work weeks at a crane company, and I had worked my way up into logistics and dispatch, and 100-hour work weeks plus 20 credit hours equals no sleep and no family life, meaning that I had made a commitment to my spouse that I was going to be there for her, and wasn't. And she started drafting papers to me, and I had a decision to make. Do I let this happen, or do I go out fighting? I quit my job and started the repentive process of trying to mend my marriage. Three marriage counseling individuals later, and I still have problems with that. I really have a problem with feeling like the reason why I bring value, back to what you were talking about, is because of what I can produce. I have this big heart and I love people, and yet I don't give. I feel like I can do everything, and I have to do all these things, and I can't. And so I say I stay later, and I stay later, and then I end up feeling like, well, that's what I have to do, and so I end up spending so much time at work. And how many people out there in construction have that same feeling? It's like, oh, well, we didn't get done what my foreman wanted me to do, so I'm going to stay a little bit later today. I want to drop the F-bomb. F that. Like, screw that. Like, that doesn't matter. The icing on the cake is when my second daughter was born, I took my first home, and I wasn't home so much that she thought I was a stranger. She started crying and trying to get away from me. And it broke my freaking heart that my daughter felt like I was not someone that she could trust and be home with. She was 18 months old, and she didn't want me, like, she was scared of me. And from that day on, I'm like, if I do nothing else, I'm going to be a damn good father. I'm going to be a damn good husband. And I'm not 100% there, but it's needing to understand that you can't do everything, and that the people side, your family, you as a person, whatever, even if you don't have kids or whatever it is, that is way more important in this life than the extra hour, 2 hours, 3 hours every single day. If you invest that time in your family instead of work, you will not die miserable, and you won't feel like you have to go there and feel like suicide is the way out.
Love you, man. I love you, Spencer.
Thank you yes. Ooh, Spencer. Thank you for sharing that very much.
Yeah.
Okay, so
I once heard somebody say that they interviewed so many people on their deathbed, Spencer, and it might have been a book that I read or something, but they said nobody's ever worried about the meeting minutes, getting them out, or working that extra hour or two that night. It was always like the one thing they regret was exactly what you just said, spending time with family and focusing on those things that matter most. That was beautiful, man. Thank you.
Yes. Okay, I know we got a lot going on, but I want to make sure we get these stories in, Jesse. So I'm going to keep going, but if you need to jump in with anything else, you just let us know.
Yes,
okay?
I'll just time check, and this isn't to rush. this is actually maybe to plant a seed in the folks that are out there in the omniverse. We got 4 other amazing human beings up here. And clearly you can see the depth of care and passion that they have. And so we may have to take this forward and continue, maybe have a follow-up on this conversation. And we also have the after party that'll be happening on Clubhouse. The link is at the top of the chat. So please hit the link. And we've got 20 minutes on the board. And we also have some survey stuff, some learning that we want to have with the group. So just putting that out there for y'all. If there is an appetite for us to continue this conversation with these amazing people, I think I'm not going to put them on the spot right now, but it's definitely something that I will call them in the morning and say, hey, what's going on, Brian? What are you doing? You want to be on a live stream? And wrestle them into doing another one. So back to you, Miss Jen.
Okay. So we're gonna keep going because this is gonna. I know we're probably could be here all morning. So, buddy, I'm gonna ask you to go next.
Okay. Well, I could take this a lot of different directions, but the part we were talking about addiction and some things like that. So where that hits me is my wife, an alcoholic, had been ever since we've been married, and rock bottom several times. And my working, I can relate to Brian because I started pretty young. And when you start young like that, that develops work habits that basically make you workaholic because you think that's what you're supposed to do. But she's been sober now, it'll be 5 years in January. And, we saw so many things in this in that effort where people lost their families, lost their homes, lost everything they had. So somehow we made it through that. But this society we're in is so terrible. I mean, I've got my older daughter, she sees a counselor every now and then, and she's got 3 daughters. And hell, if one of them's not on medicine, the other ones are seeing a counselor. I mean, all 3 of them. And so had that conversation with Jesse before. We're the fixer. We can fix anything, and we feel like failures when we can't fix things, or I'm an enabler because I tried to hide this dirty little secret for 30-something years, and it's tough. And then you're working, 70, 80 hours a week on top of that, and then you get home, and you really want to crash and burn, but you got other issues you're trying to deal with too. And so, if it can happen to me, it can happen to anybody. And so I try to look at things a lot different. There were doctors, there were lawyers, there were nurses, there were Jessies, there were all kind of people in these groups that we saw that have the same problem. I can't relate to that because I don't have that in my mind telling me I need a drink, and so it's so hard to relate to stuff like that if you don't have that going on in your brain. But you got to try to figure out a way to help people. And just real quick, because I know we're running out of time, suicide is hit so close to home with our company. I'm going to a funeral at 2:00 for a young man that did that last week that had worked for our company, worked for one of our trade partners, and everybody is devastated. I mean, it's a good young man. And so we got to keep our fingers on this pulse of the people that we work with, our family, our friends, because, and I got a guy that I didn't realize that he calls me and I call him, and every week, I didn't realize there was a pattern going on there until he told me that he had PTSD and I was on his call list. And I'm going, what? So there's people out there that need our help. And if you look deep enough, you can find things and you can see people. You can see them if you just slow down just a little bit.
Thank you, buddy. Again, I say this and everyone knows it. Like people just want to matter. And when we can engage with them and we can recognize them and we can, treat them and look at them as people, it can make a difference. And I mean, speaking to what Betty just said, like, I mean, sometimes we don't even know we're that person. Like they're making phone calls and they're having calls with us, and we don't even realize the impact it's having on their lives. Thank you, buddy, so much. I know I can tell that was heavy on your heart. And so thank you so much. I appreciate that. So we're going to keep going. Jesse, we're good?
Yeah, we're good. We got 15 minutes.
Okay. Thank you.
So let's keep on rolling.
Okay. So Thomas, throwing it at you.
I'm going to stop being last. Jeez. You know, I've dealt with the same thing. Someone commits suicide, and you go through all the waves of I don't even psychology, right? Like the coping mechanisms. And one thing that for me personally that's been an issue is having a personal life in our industry. And I think one core issue, or at least getting towards the core issue that we could tease out like 25,000 whys, is a personal life. The personal life is a competition. In our industry. Like we try to climb up the ladder just so we can be we can actually have the time to walk away from a project. And I see that now as I've advanced in my career. And what I mean by that is, like, we are in an industry that is of haves and have-nots. So it's no, I don't know any other place where we have the people who have haves. So if you're a executive or an architect or some kind of a white collar, you're seen, not just treated, you're seen differently in our industry because it's a professional thing. And then if you're a plumber down in a ditch, and Jesse, you've told me this, and you've had it on your podcast, that's a super important task. If we don't connect sanitary pipes that are buried down in dirt, like we can't advance as a society. we can't have any kind of progress because we can't get rid of our waste. So both of those are very important things. And I just bring that back to my personal life. Have you ever been on vacation? And I'll just leave this as an open question. Go away mid anything. So you're in a process. It could be a project, could be a pursuit, whatever it is. And that just the entire time you're away, it just hangs over you. Or worse, you leave your situation, you're on vacation, you're away from your work life and you're in your family life, and you bring back in all your business stuff. You're either secretly doing it, like you're like looking at your emails out of habit, or like you actually like take a day, be like, I gotta take this call. You guys go to SeaWorld and enjoy it. I gotta do this work thing, even though I'm not getting paid, or I'm like, whatever it is. It is pressure, and that pressure, it weighs on us. And I think when I'm talking about haves and have-nots, there is people who they don't have a choice. Like you have to go request time off, and you could be denied. And then there's people who at the drop of the hat can. I'm not saying do. I'm just saying you have the ability to go to Europe for 2 weeks and just and be off. So that for me, our issue that we have to attack is this idea of a personal life is a competition, being like, you can win. You can win at your house life. And that was one of the reasons why I moved away from the Bay Area, was because I was an owner in the Bay Area where you have a homeowner, where you have great housing inequality. And it wore on me. And that's also, like, in the Bay Area, if you know it, where you live kind of dictates your just stature, not only in personal life, but in your business life, because you have greater access to or shorter commute. It's a California thing. It's like the shortest commute. but it wasn't important to me anymore. We moved away from that. That was just one contributing factor, but we got to attack that. So I'll leave it there.
Yes.
Thank you, Thomas, so much. Oof, there's so many parallels though, and there's so many things that are intertwined in all these conversations. It comes back to the people.
Yes.
Ooh.
So
Okay.
I'm gonna pump the brakes a little bit.
Okay.
And just love the like, man, this is y'all are amazing. I love y'all. Love the space that y'all are creating together. We have some folks coming in from Facebook, even Mr. Philip Sellers, which, by the way, we used to play baseball together in high school. Philip, I still remember that. Please don't share any of my stories. That's
share all the stories, Philip. Share all the stories, Philip.
Fans only content.
All the stories, Philip.
He says there's times that he didn't know he was a point of contact, but he appreciated and always took that to heart. And it's serious. He also commented he's got a military background. He's served, and he has been some help or reprieve for others that were dealing or combating suicide at the time. And so I'm going to post a link in the chat for the Omniverse, and it's going to take you to Mentimeter. And so Mentimeter is kind of a source that we can all, or you can all give us some information and give us some feedback, because Jen and I, we started this conversation. It was going to be go over 5 letters and then like wrap it up and move on with our lives. But if you can't tell, like, the connection that I've got with Jennifer now, and the impact that these conversations have had, like, I feel now a sense of responsibility to continue this. And Thomas, you planted this seed, and you had mentioned on the after party that, like, you look forward to these conversations and that it was on your calendar even. And so that led me to think, like, wow, I mean, how many other people, it's possible that there's people out there that maybe haven't been in the chat, but do look forward to this and find some sort of value and comfort in these conversations. So now we really need to think about considering the conversation. So, and also what else would be of interest for folks to talk about. So that link is going to take you directly to that. And I'm going to share. So we're going to go here so people can go and respond, and then we'll come back and have some conversation. But I'm going to share a QR code with an access code here for the same thing. It's just a different way to access it. So here we go.
So as Jesse's doing that, to sum up what he just went around the tree and said is, we are going to keep doing this, and we are going to keep creating this space, and it's going to be intentional. But obviously we had a plan coming into this, going over the 5 S's, and this will wrap up that conversation. And so what we're asking you is, we have some ideas, but we would love for the people that keep showing up, if there's something that's heavy on your heart or something that you feel that we could help create the space for the conversation, if you will add that and contribute your thoughts on that, so that, again, we've decided we're pretty much stuck with each other now. So this is not going away. And so again, we just want your feedback and your thoughts so that we can continue these conversations and these live streams, but also want to be able to bring value. And so we would love your thoughts and feedback on that.
Yes, please. I'm going to bring up some of the feedback that's coming through because it's already happening. Like, my God, I'd like straight up, every time we're planning this and thinking of things to do, I'm always like, man, it sounds like a really great idea to me. And then it's kind of like having that it reminds me of planning my first party when I was trying to be a cool kid in middle school. And then the reality sets in, like, well, hell, man, is anybody even going to show up? And then when people show up, it's like, oh, they love me. They really love me. So we already have a response on the Mentimeter. One of the ideas, or what they'd like for us to cover next, is personal goal setting and approaches to close the gaps in desired outcomes. Boom. So please, y'all keep it coming. We're down to 6 minutes, Miss Jen.
Yep.
What are we thinking?
We're good. So again, we're here. We're not going anywhere. We do want to be respectful of your time. So I want to give the stage to make sure we are able to hit Brian and Adam, but we also know this is probably not the last time we have these people up here. So we're going to absolutely probably look at something as a follow-up, but we do want to be able to let the audience kind of hear some of the, why they're, what stories they have. So Brian, we're going to go to you. And again, don't feel rushed, but we do want to hear kind of, that personal story from you.
Can someone put me on 1.25 speed, please?
For real.
No, I think really for me, we need to start with ourselves. We need to start with treating ourselves better, number one. We need to, if we can't treat ourselves well, how are we going to take care of other people? If we can't start with number one and get past those things, I don't think we'll ever get to a point where we help anybody else. So I think, having these conversations is a way to get better at, make yourself feel better and get better. So that I think that's an important part of that is being able to talk to people like this. I think that's so critical. But yeah, just, be nice to yourselves, I think is the first place to start. And then from there, you can, once you can take care of yourself, you can help take care of other people a little bit better.
Absolutely, Brian. And I know we've had that conversation a little bit before, but it's being able to bring yourself and respect yourself and see the worth in yourself. That plays directly into how you interact with other people. And so I say own your impact. You say I own my impact, which is, again, so similar to, and I say this and people that are around me know, own your impact. Because when you can own it, then you're able to shine that out to the people around you.
It's funny because I got that from David G., who is a guy that I use for meditation, for guided meditations. That's one of the things that he says. And I started hearing it from y'all about the same time I heard it. So
awesome. Yes. So we're getting there. So
3 minutes.
Yep. So Adam, you can bring us home.
It's 2:21. Surely I find the mute button. I'd love to bring us home. I guess I don't think I have time for a personal story, but I'll maybe toss some teasers out there for when we do get together. So, and I've got one of 3 options that have really been weighing heavy on my mind. And really, I got a 4th as I sit here and think. So, I got very close stories with suicides on projects, project team members, roommates that we probably should have seen signs and things like that. And so that one is really tough. And then my personal, right, like Brian just said, internal stories. And when I think about it, how substance abuse can really drive, from even like prescribed substance abuse and how that can drive to your body and your health failing you. And then, there's, I've been in construction for a long time and I've traveled a lot. And so I haven't always been the best to my wife and my family, just the same. And so, again, I think we all have these kind of branches that we could travel down, and just to even just drop those 3 things out in this audience is, I feel so connected to Buddy now because we share a lot of like a similar story. And Spencer, just the same. I mean, and that's what this does. That's what this environment, these conditions that y'all are creating is just pretty magical. I wish I had my Felipe. Like this is, it's a beautiful thing for people to be able to just show up. Like if you just show up and get enthralled in the conversation and stay like very just into it, right? Like this is, yeah, that's exactly it. It's being like we're all one now, right? Like there's no hidden things. It's full transparency. It's full like true vulnerability. And when you get to that, again, that's that level of trust that's built that y'all are doing so well. So thank you for including me in this amazing group of folks who are willing to just be themselves and show up. I really, really value that.
Thank you, Adam.
Gangsta.
Adam said it, and I want to say it again because, like, everyone on the stage and all of you in the chat, like, you just showed up. Like you trusted and you just showed up. And not only did you just show up, but you continue to show up. And for what that does for me is huge, but also all the people, that are here and that are getting all of that from you, everyone that's listening and watching, and the people on the stage, but also the stuff in the chat. It's like, that's all of us together this morning, all of us in the same place. And there's no silos. There's no, I'm better than you. It's everybody's looking at this going, we're doing this together. And that's powerful. And we have to own that. And we have to lean into that.
Yes. Yes. Wow. I'm just gonna say that. Wow. It is 9:15 and we're fixing to jump on the after party. So I'm just gonna cut it short because I need a bio break because I didn't talk so much and I drank all my coffee and a bunch of water, like straight up. So appreciation, gratitude, respect, and love to the five of you to come up here and trust us. And more importantly, model the behavior that is going to help our industry. It is going to heal the men and women out there doing the work. And by modeling the behavior, everyone out there in the omniverse that has been like checking this out, now you know what it looks like, man. Go do it. So with that,
all right, wait, one more. I just want to close and say, I want to thank Buddy and Spencer and Adam and Brian and Thomas, because I feel blessed to have you in my space. And I just thank you so much for showing up today.
Love, hugs, and kisses.
I'm thankful for all of you.
Yes. Hashtag love everybody. Peace
love
out.
y'all.